Obia omadane omoho say let me give this preamble osofo meti hey eni onyam kese a president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo de ahye me ne mabusua. I will not go and entangle myself in any corrupt situation. I think say corruption should be punished by law. So obi a corrupter yemfa no nkogina mranim. And that has been the track record of the New Patriotic Party and our government. President Akufo-Addo baye and Professor Mills, former President Mahama administrations, na corruption wo he prosecuted the cases. Entina Misled CEO and now we are convicted. Sure. Only her, she is a fugitive because yasishan krata di na kojina mrenim ama mrano ni nedi abuano fo. Entina the former board of National Communications Authority NCA yedi omu kojina mrenim ama mrani omu diye convicte ye. Entina venture capital under the previous administration emrano yedu omuko jina mrenim. There is no shortcut in dealing with corruption. If you have the evidence, it ought to be prosecuted.
Now all the examples near people in the former administration
entina
no
entina mekamba say encrofo the cases bi aban refer to one agency or the other, whether a shrajo, whether a police CID, whether a office of special prosecutor. Yoko ninyina references ko unim say Northern Development Authority issues by her under this administration before court and now way. So it defeats
motorcycles been a year.
Yeah, so it defeats the conversation about reference to only cases under previous administration. Now under this administration, so can about so obi a corrupt and answer there is a scandal. Let me give you a typical example. Me Penny Samuel OKUDZETO ABLAKWA of the NDC, member of parliament for Northton. Now say no akofa krata biaba said there is a scandal. Also for motiha. And a bra penny kofa krata ba yes and aban we yakoton and sase parks and gardens for sase. Mr. I won't comment on any new paper or so-called expose without Ghana media no holding it to account. Said this is the explanation and narrative of Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources Diaba. I say Enyama wosi elisi under this government, the history, the leases were done under NDC, former President John Dramani Mahama administration in 2015 and 2016. The honorable thing would have been say, opinion beba beka se mena mekaye nanso nyame anim in the face of evidence ebia I was misled enti Ghana for momfa nkyeye na ochina okofa bibi foforo ba yaka se there was good intentions behind it, goodwill. He was only misled. Now the evidence by ye chere says documents or the by na no krebi anim no. Mama no kwama na moving on, jumping onto other issues. And I am mom ni efra ye say embe responde. Without or no, whoever alleges must prove. Until yet the other superior information ba na contradicting your the beto abontia. The best thing is mobema na apologize publicly. Mobe friend de na to amana kase meka say NPP aban and the Honorable Samuel Abujinapo and the previous lands ministers omaton sasea akwa parks and gardens for asase na momuhwehwemu abachire say and the former President John Dramani Mahama and omulisi sansasi does that hit also for me better na meka bibi na manofom na ukonya evidence bi a chese na meka na enye saa Pepane akumapa me de betina hanti. I should be honorable enough to say, oh, I think some man when ye me, but this is the contrary information but you've allowed him to move on. The media has allowed him to move on from that issue. And at the end of the day,
on that specific issue, what should the media have done?
They should have called him back.
After you remember the Lands Ministry had to respond twice. After the initial allegations, the Lands Minister responded. And he came back, punching holes into the response from the Lands Minister. And on Namsoma, another response, if a Lands Minister or
other response, and they did contradict the fact to say Abanwe didn't sell parks and gardens asasi. It did not contradict that. It did not. Lisi yeba akupe. Yelisi in 1920 or 1960 or anyway, it does not matter what kind of application that were requested. So what's your expose and it is based on information. You should have had the information from the genesis. Second response, and by impatron money nedin komo. Or saying
no.
Or say lands ministry or moboa. Also a monton parks and gardens as I say. So at the end of the day, no. I won't allow him to move on from such a conversation. Ochina blowing hot air on another issue. Near Freyaba, and yes, scandal upon scandal. But now, this is a dent on the integrity of the person who wakes up every day and bring a document, send me expose. Because your punchy hole said, no, this thing you didn't investigate, you didn't check the records, and the information here could have been easily accessible.
But based on that, Parks and Gardens, Diana Kwano, would you, based on that, rubbish all the other ones out there, including the current one?
Response from Ministry of Lands is here. I'm trying to pull it for you. It was not only Parks and Gardens.
Okay.
It was more than one. The list of they did a chronology, step by step.
Oh, so I've read it.
Every allegation.
I've read it. Now, apart from Nsasene Diano, would you rubbish all the other allegations?
Also, he who alleges must prove.
Sure.
Ube alleging ne baako ne esenya no kre. Na on the second issue esenya no kre. On what basis? Ena wo other allegations media tum. Enti eja wo de wusua mra ana we wie mresua. Enti no. There is something that goes to the credibility of the witness and answer the person who make allegations. Into uni musa obeba bra properly. But that notwithstanding, I have said it and said it again. And it's a NDC for nya akwenya besom Ghana for. Oma ntimi amputu a single appointee of President John Adjekun Kufuor, NPP 1 administration behind bars. And it was not because former President Mahama is a father for all, as he's been claiming during his encounter with the media. It is because all the people that they lined up before the courts, they didn't have any evidence. Either it had to do with Ghana at 50. Say, your former minister Asabiyo, and in Nigeria, they couldn't substantiate it. So it is never true. So Mumunya Kwenya to prosecute and they didn't do it because there is a humanizing posturing of a father for all. It is not true. And Obi Biara or what records from some of these developments from 2009 no say what they are saying is not true.
But would you say, sir, as we speak, you don't believe or agree with Obi Obeka said there is corruption in this government?
If you say there is corruption, you have to show cause. On your own, on your head as a citizen of Ghana, obetime the petitioner come CID.
Yes.
Say you say who say boni bi koso a brane beka ananya sa e wasede se Ghana mamba pa. Enti o de koto ho no manhwehwe mu no mo beye. Ne de akogina mranim. Na atemuafo na otemuafo ye konten kura wakobu asem. Na wontimi meka keke enti osofo ene utu hwe ni onyamfo tesel. Na ma bese o se osabi o ye kromfo ye say without any evidence. Yes, enam sa wagidi nti Ghana fo mu awfo ansa na ye di wasem. Enye sa na mra ye adwuma wa ha. And enya me responsibility to go and look for evidence for the NDC. Omo allege they should come properly. And amra wo ho emra no so nya omampani na do dan kwakufu ado and edamra na no. The judiciary is as independent as they come. As independent as they come. Until at the end of the day, no, a ho na do asembeko.
As a ministry, meaning say more research department, you more picky intel from the general Ghanaian public. What do you think is the pulse of the nation, Cecilia? Is the nation in the mood? Say they want change in the next election. Who feel is our mood no in the country?
I don't feel that pulse. I feel the nation wants improvements in living conditions. They don't want change in political administration as a Yankofa and December.
We are sure.
The reality on the ground does not support that. Edi entina make us also full. Obia NDC in this context. Let me start from somewhere. So far, you muti so omususu ya ne se omo pese omo ba besom as mampani ni abedieche ene omo mpo omo abedieche hontoma no. Ebi ye independent political parties, movement for change ne cheda ne nkeka.
Yes.
But when momentum edi omo campaigns nechi. The track record of Ghana political dispensation in the past 2 or 3 decades does not support say another third force be a unity. I don't know if you feel that on the ground. I haven't seen that. Ebi I offer omumu bibana they have a conversation on that. I haven't seen it. Now we are in a situation where we have NPP as a ruling party and NDC as immediate past ruling party. Bringing a candidate waye mampeni da, waye mampeni abedi echreda, waye minister da, waye deputy minister da, waye assemblyman da, waye member of parliament da. In the person of former President John Dramani Mahama. Wakita Ghana to me assign as mampeni, ewa abra he was one of the most experienced politicians in the country. Positions here amabubo nyina is no mean feat. And the excuse we could have given to other candidates of presidents of being novice no nim no abafofro no nim ne ekoso, that excuse another case cannot be made for the former president. Because he had served in government and politics and had over 30 years experience and sana obey Ghana mampeni. The challenges of the country was known to him. And so enu hu echi no yeda sumu emfie 9. Enu hu echi no there was unemployment krona or trumpet se oba beye no. Until at the end of the day, President nanu ya ode na no be for free SHS hu eja Ghana for so gu nichim. It wasn't even NPP for Eneka say omampeni da we dia yesre yeka. Asema wo kan ye say you started free SHS na ye ntronya na ne yeka ho. Me say the public surprisingly even omo aminim say they have been worst critics of this government. We're saying say no kraya bakope. We shouldn't waste time on a debate for who started free SHS. Ghana ni bia wo kan no cross nyame enim say President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo ene de bai. To say free SHS enye slogan eye policy sikakom wan so omadwane afri hu sesia because omaka man krofo adwen abesi so say eh asema papa yi kan enye no kure ne ye nyina yie say 38 cedi no for the progressive free education and free SHS ya ne ade wo betwam because the implementation of the policy na ene akade ene sika na eko enti President Akufo-Addo and all the billions of Ghana cedis ashem etima educate about 5.7 million young Ghanaians on the account of government. Enti unye we ba beke kan no abi na ese ba de a ene em yentena ya ware bone ho sa. Enti that is the posturing. Now one other issue I critical in recent year has to do with job creation and opportunities for the youth. Ne akoso bia aban ni tie na so pamu ye nhehye ye ntoto ye prepare. Enti na nche to ye de every beer 8 and 10 eba bedru 50 no difference na nya as much because now inflation ye 1% and akodru 5% a echese ade ana otono $1 no edru $5 say sana na won so de ana e 10% a akodru 50% no echese ade ana otono 1 cedi no akodru 5 cedi mpacho what you say and cumulatively over percentage increases now we are see afana baby another impact no of international issues like COVID, any freight challenges, cost of container, cost of shipping, delays in supplies eba globally in yamana problems wo enti no ye kam obi ate say problem wo na it is not only domestic challenges are at that time Honorable Ken Oforiatta to Ghana for enim ne said the Ghanaian economy no has structural problems no aban we e na atoto niema pa so obe solve ebi ne say ye digitalize the economy ebi ni deɛ ebi ni sɛ aban yɛtimi akɔte ama sɛ wotie the honorable finance minister or say as many as 13 vehicle manufacturing companies ɛna abetintim mfidie wɔ Ghana ha se ɔmo assemble wɔ ha ebi ni deɛ ebi ni interventions a yɛde ba with one district one factory and na wokɔ sɛ hwea kontomra ɔmo rice processing factory wokɔ suhuma yɛwɔ tomato processing factory Lavance our products were on the market ukwa ekumfia yɛwɔ pineapple processing factory our mu products ukwa America it is on shelves ubenya OKUDZETO enti no the structural problems with the Ghanaian economy no enu bi any digitalization enu bi ni industrialization under 1D 1F enu bi na mabobo so with planting for food and jobs 2.0 ni interventions aban ye to make sure say bibia did anakwan so ebetimi raise and the impact is already showing. So we had the recorded growth for the first quarter of 2024 which is at 4.7% is the highest since the second quarter of 2022. Unim say rating agencies international unim say IMF the second review meeting announcement for the third tranche no almost Ghana the country representative now okasa for IMF no your friend Stefan Rude also IMF no more projected growth for Ghana for 2024 na 2.8%. Now so mo hwɛ the way anema si call ma revising upwards to 3.1%. Enye no nko awo even rating agencies say S&P ne Fitch mo no mo susu say Ghana economy say o mo project say e be grow about 4%. So yaje nkwan wie through COVID no economy no bringing it back to life no recovery no mo na ewe enti yakasa the context is that yenka say economy no bibia ye mremremre but what they compare baby a free bar improvement bam successive nkakra but anytime you do year on year comparison even with the city depreciation January to June 2023 now depreciated by about 21%. This year I depreciated but compare January to June 18%. Enye bebresa but gradually enka wo draw charter enka wo behu se eba form nkakra
even when people are tempted to believe some narrative way any perspective any contest how the amount the economy conversation no some would say abaina or pagana for chel say nneɛma yɛ den yɛn nyinaa yɛnya abotrɛ abaya yɛ de obetimi bia to bring us back on the road and almost on a daily basis you hear of one corruption scandal or the other. Ain't se Ghana for be rebel do more trust in your government with the narrative around corruption. They people in Abambebu.